Uh, Hello, it's day 2 of us looking at the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke. And this chapter covers the birth of Jesus, the dedication of Jesus in the temple, and the 12-year-old Jesus visiting the temple. But I think early on in this, we get the feeling, okay, it's the Christmas card thing where we see Jesus in what we call the manger. If you look at this, I've been reading through in the Passion translation, it says in a feeding trough, which perhaps gives us a better understanding of what this was. It was a place for the animals, no room at the inn, as we know. But there, Jesus then being born into the lowliest of places, perhaps that he could have been born into. And it seems right straight from the beginning, God is making a point of saying that it's the marginalized, it's the lowest of our society that he is really wanting to relate to. So Jesus doesn't get born in a big palace. He's there in a stable with a feeding trough. And perhaps it's a message to us as a church that our place is not to be in some sort of higher, lofty place. It's to be in with those that need it, the marginalized of our society. And perhaps this is a message for me, and it's perhaps a message for all of us. And it talks about Mary pondering these things in her heart in this chapter, as if to say she didn't have the full story. Like many of us in our journey with Christ, we don't have the full story, and neither did she. She was told things previously by Elizabeth in chapter 1, and then in here we're finding this the shepherds come along and say they've heard this message from angels. And then when you go to the dedication of the temple, in the mid part of the chapter, you've got Simeon. And Mary and Joseph, it says, again in the Passion translation, it says they were awestruck at what they were telling them about Jesus, that he was the Messiah. And that Anna sort of said, she was telling them also that the Messiah that she'd been waiting for all this time had now come. And it's your baby Jesus. And then we go on to the 12-year-old Jesus who's in the temple. And again, you can see that Mary, they'd lost Jesus. He'd been left behind. So it seems a bit strange to us to understand how that would happen. Perhaps we live in a different society than they did, as to where, Jesus may be amongst a group of friends and relatives, and they thought they were with somebody else who'd gone on in front or whatever, but find he's not there. But when they get back to the temple, they find that Jesus is sat down with the leaders of that temple at the time, and he is talking to them about highly intelligent things. He's displaying his high intelligence, holding his own in a conversation with with learned people. And again, Mary and Joseph are probably asking themselves, we don't fully understand all of this at all, but it's obvious what people are telling us about our son it's true. It's coming true. We can see that for ourselves. Here he is in the temple. So I think there's two things for me, is this way that things are unfolding essentially before their very eyes without a great understanding. And I think we are to take from this that sometimes we won't fully understand what God is doing in our lives, but others may come with other parts of the pieces for the jigsaw for us to understand. And secondly, that Jesus' birth was where God was to fulfill his work, where Jesus was to fulfill his work, and the church probably is to fulfill the work, not necessarily in high places. There's a time for that, obviously, but really it's amongst those who Jesus finds to be ostracized from our society and the marginalized. So enjoy your reading of this, and have a good day.